Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. It's certainly been a while. I didn't think it would be as long between this one and my last video. Things have been quite crazy. Just busy with work and other things. But you know, I'm here now, and I've got the opportunity to make a video and update you about what I've been reading, what I'm reading, and what I'm going to read in the future as well, or in the near future. You can see from the opening video, the weather's been a bit crazy. That was taken last week. Took us all by surprise, and it only lasted a day, but there was a ton of snow. And then yesterday, or day before yesterday, which was Thursday, we had beautiful sunny day. It was quite hot. Temperatures got up to around 17-18 degrees Celsius, and then today it's plummeted again. We're down into single digits again, and I guess it's just this kind of crazy springtime. But anyway, I'm really happy to be here with you and chatting to you. So let's dive in and have a look at what I've read since I last spoke with you. Given the events in just towards the east of here in Ukraine, you know, my mood reading took me to look at books that are related to Ukraine and Russia, particularly Russia in this case. And I read a book by Luke Harding, who's a journalist for The Guardian newspaper in the UK, and it's his book Shadow State, Murder, Mayhem, and Russia's Remaking of the West. It was excellent. I've read Luke Harding's, or one of Luke Harding's other books, which I can't remember the name of now. I should have looked, which was about his time as a journalist in Russia and the sinister things that happened to him while he was there. This particular book is looking at how Russia has interfered and influenced events both in Western Europe, in the United Kingdom particularly, and in the United States, looking especially at the election of Trump. It was really good and very, very sinister actually, and maybe not at all surprising, but I certainly recommend it if you're interested in looking at the various machinations that Russia's been accused of recently, in how they interfered in the US election and getting Trump elected, as well as their possible interference into things like Brexit as well. The book ends actually with a chapter on Ukraine and the situation there prior to Volodymyr Zelensky becoming Prime Minister. Actually, it ends with him, I think, becoming President, rather, sorry, excuse me. And then the other book I read, which is a very short book by Mark Galeotti, which is this one here, We Need to Talk About Putin. And this is just a look at the man, the enigma that is Vladimir Putin. It's a very short book. If you are interested in this kind of thing at all, then I recommend it because, as I say, it won't take you very long to read, and it will give you some insight. Although it was written before the the invasion of Ukraine. Perhaps a couple of things, maybe the author, well, maybe he couldn't have been expected to call it, but generally he was very much on point. Another book that I read last month, I read with a fantastic group of people, co-hosted a read-along of Shogun by James Clavell. It was a reread for me, and as expected, rather, it was excellent even the second time around, and despite a gap of almost 20 years, thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's given me the taste to reread all of the Asian saga again. I'm hoping at some point we'll be able to do a video on it if I can, get myself in gear and organize that. Then certainly I will. Another book I've just finished reading is The Swerve by Stephen Greenblatt. Here you go, and it's How the World Became Modern is the tagline there, and it was the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, and it's a really fantastic book, very interesting, unlike any book I've really read before, actually, and it's hard to categorize it in one category, really, because although it's a history, it's got lots of bibliophilia, is that the right word, in it, as well as, a host of interesting characters and ideas as to, things that contributed to the making of our modern world. I'm not going to talk too much about it. In fact, that's all I'm going to say on it, because tomorrow I will be doing a live show with Kari from Very Literary Kari, talking about this book. And if you have time, by all means, please join us. It will be 10 a.m. tomorrow, that's Sunday, Easter Sunday, Eastern Standard Time, or 4 p.m. Central European Time, which is my own time zone. I've been reading some other books as well, which I haven't finished yet. One is a novel, The North Water by Ian McGuire. I'm 2/3 of the way through that, and I'm enjoying it, although it is very, very, very graphic and violent and horrific, but a good read, definitely, and a page turner for sure. Hilary Mantel really enjoyed it, so I don't know if that will encourage you to read it or not. I believe there's a series on HBO about it. I haven't watched it yet. For animal lovers, there's a lot of brutality towards, Arctic wildlife. In the book, it's a little bit easier to deal with because I can just kind of skip the pages. It doesn't seem as real when I'm reading it. However, I believe in the series they do show it, so that's kind of put me off watching it, unfortunately. Although I'm sure the story would still be very good. Sticking with this kind of cold theme, I don't know why, with the weather so cold, I kind of became obsessed with reading books set in cold places. The other one I'm reading and almost finished is The Last Viking, The Life of Roald Amundsen by Stephen R. Bown. Excellent book. Bown is a really good writer, and he really presents Amundsen in a very fascinating manner. I've become a little bit obsessed with him, actually. I think he's a really remarkable man. It's funny, growing up, as an Englishman, I always had kind of a negative feeling towards Amundsen for no reason other than he beat Scott to the South Pole, and it's very unfair, really, because he was in himself a very remarkable explorer and a very interesting human being. And as I've read it, I've started to learn that perhaps that we are maybe a little bit maybe not so much these days, but certainly when I was growing up, I grew up watching films like Scott of the Antarctic and this kind of thing. But the idea that perhaps Scott is more responsible for the failure of his expedition, it was due to carelessness rather than misfortune, perhaps, that a combination, I suppose, would be fair. But still, I think I've been unfair to Amundsen, and I'm glad I've read this book about him, and I'm very tempted to read his own autobiography as well. So I am also reading, I've got a physical copy for this one, I'm also reading a book called The World Beneath Their Feet by Scott Ellsworth, which is this book here. And it is the British, the Americans, the Nazis, and the race to the summit of the Himalayas. And again, it's a really interesting book. Again, set in very cold conditions. It's been difficult because the weather's been up and down, and it's got quite cold here. I've faced a few kind of moral dilemmas because, when I turn on the heating, given the geographical location that I am, the gas heating, is Russian. And I've tried to avoid using it, for obvious reasons. So I've been heading to bed quite early, which was fine before the clocks changed, and it was dark. But now, of course, it stays lighter. But it's kind of weird that I go to bed to avoid supporting the Russian economy by putting on the heating, by wearing loads of blankets and jumpers and whatever, and then I'm reading all these books set in very cold situations. But this is fascinating, really, because it's about all the various attempts to climb Everest and other peaks, to be the first one there. So it kind of gives the impression of like a great race, but it's full of really interesting characters as well, and I thoroughly recommend it if you want a nice piece of non-fiction to read. And then coming up, I didn't bring the book in with me, but I don't think it matters. I will talk about it later, but I am going to start tomorrow. I'm going to start a reading of Children of Ash and Elm, which is a history of the Vikings, and the author escapes me, but I'm going to read it with Vin from Revenant Reads, and I'm really looking forward to that. It will be very interesting. I'm definitely on a non-fiction kick at the moment, and it's always been my kind of first love, really. Since I started doing BookTube, I have read perhaps more fiction than I would normally have read, and I've really found some interesting ones. Actually, another thing I started reading, which I will probably read quite quickly, and this is a work of fiction, and it's a book by David Downing called Wedding Station. And I don't know, I mentioned him a few times on this and on this channel, and it's a prequel to his other Station books, the John Russell and Effie Kern series, which, if you are interested in the Second World War and kind of espionage and this kind of stuff, I thoroughly recommend his Station series. The first book being Zoo Station, and all the books are named after stations either in and around Berlin or in neighbouring countries. The series finished a few years ago, but I guess the characters proved very popular, so Downing brought it back this year with a prequel, which is set at the start of the Reichstag fire and Hitler obtaining power in 1933. Very well written, and he really sets the atmosphere and tone of the immediate environment or conditions prior to the Second World War. So I thoroughly recommend that series, definitely. I was so excited when I saw it was available. And then I have another book that I picked up, which really isn't my normal cup of tea, and I downloaded it actually, and it's called Atomic Anna, and I think it will be, I think it will be quite interesting. It's kind of a time travel book set amid the disaster at Chernobyl. Again, I have that as a Kindle copy, so I don't have it exactly to hand, or the blurb, and it only just popped into my head right now. Otherwise, I would have prepared to tell you what it was about fully. But yeah, it's, as I say, it's set around this woman who works, I believe, at the Chernobyl nuclear plant, and when it explodes, she finds herself propelled a couple of years into the future, where she comes across her daughter, and then I believe she's kind of propelled further into the future, where she meets her granddaughter, and then kind of they have to see if they can prevent this disaster because of the effects it has, not only on the world, but I believe also on their own lives. So that could be very interesting, and I'll certainly update you when I've read it. All right. Well, sorry for this kind of ad hoc, ad lib video, but I really wanted to make one before I appeared live tomorrow, because it's been so long, and I must thank the people who've messaged me and emailed me to ask if I'm okay. I am okay. Just as I say, unfortunately, just haven't had enough hours in the day, but it's very appreciated. It's very nice to be missed, and hopefully after the live tomorrow, I'll be able to be a little bit more regular. I'll certainly endeavor to do so, because I really enjoy this, and I would love to dedicate more time to it, but it just hasn't been that possible, really. Anyway, I do hope some of you will have the time to join us tomorrow. It will be, of course, on Kari's channel, Very Literary Kari, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Ba-da-da.